Mic check. 1, 2. Hello, everybody. Today is a different kind of commentary. I wanted to talk about the end of production for the Xbox 360. Now, Microsoft essentially said that they're going to be continuing support for the Xbox 360, including online features, Netflix, just stuff like that. They're gonna be supporting Xbox Live multiplayer and features on the Xbox 360, but they're not going to be producing it anymore. So that's very interesting. I believe there's been 4 versions of the Xbox 360. There was the base one, the white one. There was the black one, the what was it, the S or the Pro edition? No, the Pro is the base. You had the Arcade, the Pro, and the Elite. The Elite is the one I'm thinking about. Then they had like a Slim, and then they had a E, which like merged the chips together. I think it's very interesting, though, because it's a very telling time. It's the end of a major generation, because although the original Xbox and even the PS2, even though they had online capabilities, multiplayer was not to the extent it is now. Like, for those consoles, for the Xbox and PS2 especially, people bought games to play the single player. I mean, maybe you got online, who knows, but that's just wasn't the main concern of the average consumer. But as time went on, especially with the Xbox 360 releasing, just a disclaimer, I think that the PS3 is an amazing console for exclusives and just games that rely heavily on art, but I felt like the Xbox 360 had a better multiplayer experience. So, as that being said, basically, I remember when Call of Duty 4 and Halo 3, those two games came out, I believe, '07, both of them. They basically changed the entire gaming community. It went from, you would have people playing online if they were on PC with older games such as, I think Age of Empires and maybe like the Anno games and just stuff like that. And people did play online, but it wasn't really to the console. But the consoles with Halo 3 and Call of Duty 4 especially, people started playing online and it became huge. Absolutely humongous. Those years were just phenomenal for gaming. Like, there were so many people playing on the consoles because they're like, wow. I mean, people were buying Halo 3 just for the multiplayer. I mean, the campaign was cool and all, but the multiplayer was really what set the thing apart. And it kind of divided, the older generation who grew up playing like the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo Entertainment System to the younger kids who, growing up with the 360 and whatnot. Basically, yeah. So back to this. Yeah, they're stopping production. It's because the equipment used to make the Xbox 360 is becoming a lot more expensive to produce. The silicon chips and just other functionalities of the Xbox, it's just becoming much more expensive to produce it. So they're gonna sell out their current stock, and you can still buy it at GameStop or any other major retailer for a used one, or maybe even a new one, because I mean they're gonna have probably new copies of the Xbox for years upon years. So that's nothing to worry about. But I just think it's interesting. It's the end, really, of the 7th generation. I'm not exactly sure if they're still producing new PS3s. I think they might be, but yeah, it's just kind of interesting how, like, one of the big giants, it's time has moved so quickly. It's just pretty phenomenal to think that we are already 3 years in, if you don't include the Wii U, into the 8th generation of consoles. And a point I want to take off a few people I've seen just on the internet, is that the 7th generation might be the last generation for a long time to rely completely on one console for the entire, 10 years that we had the 364. I mean, to be honest, those consoles last a lot longer than we normally notice. And if you haven't heard, there's a new PlayStation 4 coming out. It's called the PlayStation Neo so far. And it's basically the same console, but they're giving better graphics and better frame rate and stuff. So it's supposed to be slightly better, and they're not making games exclusive to the Neo, but they're going to make like an upped version for the same games. It's going to be like, it'll be like the difference of running a game on like a 960 GPU instead of like a 970 Ti or a 980. It's just, you're going to run the same games. I'm guessing, just judging by what they're saying, Sony, that it's going to be the same game, but they're going to be able to run better. That's what I've gathered, which there's some problems in it itself. I mean, there could be a situation where, especially with the 3DS, the games that are coming out now are not running as well as they do on the new 3DS, even though they're compatible, allegedly. So it's just something to keep in mind, just the criticism one could make. But yeah, I thought it was very significant to talk about. I haven't done a commentary like this in quite a bit, so I thought it would be rather refreshing to try something like this. Yeah, but the Xbox 360 was a pretty significant part of my life. I mean, I met a lot of people on that, and just it really opened me up to the eyes of the online gaming. And then now we're heading into virtual reality more so. I mean, we're really hitting it hard with the PlayStation VR, the HTC Vive, and Oculus Rift, and it's just amazing. It's funny how one generation, which you could really consider the seventh generation, the online generation, to now we're going to the virtual reality, if it kicks off like a lot of people believe it's going to, and from what we're seeing so far. Personally, I think VR is very interesting. I'd love to see it in MMOs. But I don't know if they're at the technological level of getting a stable released VR for a lot of massively multiplayer online games, because there's a lot to deal with server maintenance and just lag and stuff. So you gotta deal with the latence from the VR headset from your computer. There's just some things they need to work out, but I think that we're heading in the right direction. I think it's a very intuitive VR. I just think it's a good thing to look at. But yeah, RIP Xbox new production. We're heading to a close. The servers are probably going to last 2 more years, I would just guess, based off of what Microsoft has said. But yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly respect both consoles, the PlayStation and the Xbox, and it's just interesting to see how things are playing out. Thanks for watching, guys, and that's just my opinion about the Xbox 360 canceling its production, and have a nice day.